All right, so my name is Sean. I work at AutoScout24, which is the largest automotive marketplace in Europe. We're based in Germany, but active in Italy, and Netherlands, and France, and all these Western European countries. We also have language translations for Romanian, if you want. So I'm going to talk about our lessons building our first big data product, and specifically about exploiting big data. And I put the big data, the big part, into brackets, and you'll see why. So big data is a big deal, right? Big data is something that's on every company's agenda. It's on your 3-month plan, your 6-month plan, your next week plan, whatever it is. Every company wants to be involved in big data. They want to have they want to get out the benefits that these big international companies are getting from big data. And so what is the promise of big data? Big data is about, it's about the perfect knowledge of your users, right? You have this huge database of all the behavior of your users. You can know them better than they know them themselves. Imagine the promise of that. It's really amazing what you can do. You know what they want before they want it. You can predict what they want. You can increase conversion rates to the next level if you have this data. You can play with the big boys, right? The Netflixes and the Airbnbs and these companies that are using data as the central part of their platform. It's where their value comes from. If you ask people at Facebook, they will tell you the only thing in this company that has data, that has value, is their data. The platform doesn't matter, the features don't matter, it's the data that matters, the understanding of the users, the personal data that they have with every users. So big data can search engines, self-driving cars, all these things. These are the big promises of big data. But as you go through that list, you start to get to this little ellipse at the bottom, and it's and something else, right? And the other stuff that big data provides. I think a lot of us have trouble at that stage because it's difficult to translate the benefits, these promises of big data, to our companies, because we're not working at that scale, right? We're not building search engines, we're not Facebook, we don't have access to these big things, we're not building self-driving cars. Why do we need big data? And I think what big data is a cultural change around the amount of data that we collect and the importance and usefulness within the organization of that data. And I think, for our purposes, for the layman's purposes, was that me? No, the typical company, what matters is not the amount of data that you produce. It's the realization within the company that data is important for decision making and to use it for decision making. I would say, and the point of this talk, the takeaway that I want you to take from this talk, is that the major benefits of big data are not the bigness of the data, it's the data itself. It's the switching from a experience-based decision-making organization to a data-driven decision-making organization. And that's where we are. We're a big company, relatively big, over 1,000 employees. We've been around 15 years. We're like one of the original internet companies in Europe. We say we work on big data. We have these huge terabyte-sized, petabyte-sized S3 buckets. But in the end, all that really mattered to create our big data product was about 10 million records. So in the rest of this talk, I'll tell you about the big data product that we built, the data product that we built, and then I'll finish with my thoughts on data-driven decision-making in general. So, okay, AutoScout is a vehicle marketplace, right? So we have classifieds to buy and sell used cars. So the question that we asked ourselves is, what is my vehicle worth? And we built AutoScout's car valuation tool. So first, a little bit of context. In Germany and in a lot of other countries, you had a service like this. Straka, in this case, where you paid €7.90, used to be a lot more, to get the value of my vehicle. So it's this company that somehow curates the data that's available, looks at the depreciation rates, looks at what banks are currently valuing cars, what the current market is, and they give you a price that comes out the other end. And they charge €7.90 for that. We said, we have this marketplace, we have all the data, we know exactly what happens when, what cars, with what parameters sell for which price. We can offer this basically for free, we can build a product, we can provide value to our users, establish a relationship with them so that they'll want to buy and sell their car with us. So we decided to disrupt this industry of car valuation by providing this feature for free. And so where do we start? We said, okay, so we took a data scientist, a young data scientist, a junior data scientist was actually his title, and said, here's a bunch of data, spend a couple months, try to create a machine learning model that predicts the value of cars. He did that, took a couple months, and out came this machine learning model that predicted the value of cars 80 to 90% accurate, which is actually fantastic in this area. So, okay, well, let's productize this. Where do we start? Well, everybody wants to know the value of their car, so we'll make a tool for everybody. I skipped ahead of myself. Anyways, this is the tool that we built. This is the MVP. You see, this is not so minimum. It's a raw data. We do some magic with the data scientists. We introduce price models. We get some developers, a team of developers. They turn it into a product with some price model services in the back end, put it all together, put a web page on the front, and it looks like this. The end result, with all that data in the background, is 2 pages. This one and the result. You type in all the parameters of your car, and on the next page, it shows you the value of your car. So those parameters lead to a value of this car of 13,200. But you see on this, you don't have to speak German to understand the problem with this page. There are, I see on the page right now, 4 different prices, and if you change the tab on the top, you get another 4 prices. There are so many different kinds of prices for a vehicle, right? There's the offer price, the final selling price, the market price, whatever that is. There's the selling price from a dealer compared to a buyer, or from a dealer or a private. There's the selling price that a private would get if they sold to a dealer. All of these are different prices. And the consumer coming to this tool didn't really know which one they had and which one they didn't. So they were very confused. So I'll start by saying this first version was a complete failure. We did not understand what these prices were. We offered a whole bunch to the users. They were confused. They didn't trust the tool itself. And we had no strong sense of conversion and even no measure of success. Right? We're all product managers. Many of us are product managers here. If you can't measure the success, if you don't even have a sense of conversion, why are we doing this? Right? This is a failure organizationally and from a user's point of view. But thankfully that was an MVP. We could move on from there. So we decided to focus. Right? The first step, we built it for everybody. We built it for dealers and private sellers and owners and all these people. No, let's focus on one and solve the problem for them and them only. Focus will solve everything. So we simplified the interface. Still exactly the same thing, but we show a range of prices. If you were to list your car, depending on the condition of your car, somewhere between 14,000 and 21,000 euros. It's pretty big, actually. We've improved the algorithm since then. There's a pure focus on the private seller with one goal, the new listing. That's this button here. We want people to click on that button to have a free listing for your car now at a simple range of prices. Of course, we ran an A/B test with this, started to introduce these kind of processes within the organization, A versus B, the old one versus the new one, and we found this incredible increase, this uplift of 82%, just by simplifying the interface, by removing a lot of the distraction on that page. But if you look at these numbers, this is converted from 2.78%, and the variation converts at 5%. This, on a typical landing page, is fantastic, right? 5% click-through rate is very, very good. Conversion rate. Here, we thought this was terrible. These users are extremely motivated. They have a car, they're interested in the price of their car. They want to do something today. If we're only capturing 1 out of 20 of those users, we're not doing something right. So I would say, again, this is a failure. You see the pattern here, right? You're going to fail a few times. So, why is it a failure? 5% is definitely not enough to do this. So we had to take a step back and think, these people coming to this page, at what stage in their journey are they? And we have a fantastic user research team who, independently of this analysis, has created this private seller journey. I never looked at it before. I probably should have. This is point number 1, use the research that your research team produces. And we realized that the majority of the customers coming to this price tool, to the car valuation tool, are too early in the process. They're asking questions, should I sell my car? Where should I sell my car? For how much should I sell my car? They're not ready today to sell their car. So we built a tool around converting them into selling their car today when they're just not ready to, right? So this is simply too early in the process. Okay, failure again. I should have put a big failure across there. What could we do next after this? Well, let's think of where would they actually use this data today at this exact moment. It's while they're making the listing, while they're in the process of selling their car. So this is a screenshot of the first version we have, where we provide a recommended price for this car. So they've already decided to sell, they're already there, they've typed in all the parameters. Here you go, let's help you convert into actually selling your car. And in this case, I think it worked extremely well. This chart's a bit hard to understand, but think of it as two overlapping histograms. The orangish one is the old version, the bluish one is the new version, and you see the blue one is much more constrained, it's much less extreme, and the peak in the middle is much higher. So this was the main benefit of providing this data to the users at this point, was to remove the extreme values from our marketplace. And think of what this does, right? It allows the seller to be more likely to sell their car, right? Because they're avoiding these extreme prices. These cars over here are twice the price, twice the market price. Imagine how likely that car is to sell. It basically will never sell. Anything over 50% will never sell. In fact, anything over 10% will very likely not sell. So we constrained it, pushed it into the middle, and improved overall the marketplace for buyers and sellers. So, fantastic success. Yes, finally, after 6 months of work, we have one success. We have one proven success of improving our platform with a data product. So that gave us a little bit of motivation, get us to start going. Let's see how far we can go. Let's go back to these vehicle owners, to the price tool that we had before. And if we think about these markets, we think of private sellers. They're kind of like this. Someone owns a car and they're thinking of selling it as a used car. Vehicle buyers are a subset of that and also a larger portion of that. They intersect a little bit. People who buy cars have also been selling cars. And this is a subset of the larger group of vehicle owners in general. But you see, at any given point in time, there's a different set of buyers and a different set of vehicle owners. It could be over here, tomorrow it could be over there. If we could somehow target these vehicle owners and be ready when they want to sell their car, we would be in a good position to offer them to improve the overall value on the platform. So we switched our strategy from just straight up conversion to customer relationship building. We decided to use the price tool as a way to capture users before they're ready to really give us money, to establish a relationship with them, so that when they're ready to buy and sell, they we'll be there for them, essentially. Now, how do we do this? We decided to build two different features. One is a downloadable price certificate. I'm not sure if you guys care so much here, but Germans care a lot about the value of their vehicle, right? They think of it as an investment. They think of it as, they want to know at any given point in time, how much is my car worth today? They want to print it off, put it in their files, and say, at this point in time, my car was worth that. They also want to know, if you think about the price subscription, when is the right time to sell my car to get the most value out of it? So we're building these two features. Today, we can't say if these are a success or not. It's a big question mark here. But the idea here that I wanted to show you was not necessarily pivoting on the product itself, but pivoting on the market. Who are we targeting with this? If we focus on the users, it's not about conversion, it's about relationship building. And these features hopefully will address that. Okay, so there's one big part of this marketplace that we're missing out here, and this is buyers. Right. Most people, when they think of a marketplace, they think of purchasing something on the marketplace, not necessarily selling it. How can we offer value to them? Well, we tell people, is this a good deal or not? We assign a label to cars that are good deals. We call it top price. In English, that would be the best price, not the highest price. Top is a bit confusing when you translate it, but top price means the top, the best. The top price for this vehicle is within that range, the good price, the fair price, all these kind of price ranges. And we believe that by doing this, we allow buyers to find well-priced vehicles, we increase buyer trust in the overall platform, we reinforce the brand. Hey, we're on your side, come to us instead of the competitor, because we're consumer-driven, the competitor is not. And we want to perhaps improve the pricing overall on the platform, to convince sellers to lower the price of their car to a reasonable range so that it will sell faster. And this is what it looks like. You can also search for only top price cars and that kind of thing. Again, success perhaps this is where we're moving towards, this is what the goal is. So when I think about this, and I kind of step back, this was about a year of work of building these prototypes and testing them out and getting them out into the world. We realized that this can be part of a longer-term strategy, right? We can expand this idea from a single set of target users into all different kinds of target users. Owners, private sellers, buyers, small dealers, and big dealers do very different use cases in the small dealer case, and even institutions. Think about this. Think about banks and insurance companies. They also need to know the value of vehicles. And we can expand throughout different countries. This is the list of countries that we target. We could also, you can imagine going into Eastern Europe after satisfying these. So the point that I wanted to make here is that if you put all of these products together, starting from a single junior data scientist working on a single laptop with a single data set of about 10 million entries, you can produce an entirely new business model for a company of 1,000 plus people. That is the power of data-driven data products, data-driven decision-making and data products in general. So perhaps we'll become the vehicle authority in Europe. So that was the case study of our first big data product, and hopefully our most successful, continuing to be successful as we go forward. And now I want to share a few words about how I think data-centric product development could exist within your organization or organizations like yours. So I think of this as a series of maturity levels. So as you progress as an organization, you increase your level of maturity. The first level is to simply collect the data, right? If you don't collect the data, you don't get anything out of it. The problem is that a lot of companies, they get stuck here. They get stuck here in a big way. The company decides, let's employ a bunch of data engineers, build a big infrastructure, collect data, so that we can do the real work later on. I feel like this is a prerequisite for real intense data products. Remember when at the beginning of my product, we didn't have this data collection stuff. We had a SQL database that you literally just dumped the data, all the records in it. That's all there was, right? There was nothing more than that allowed us to produce that data product. So my only advice here is do not get stuck here. Move on to the next levels. Collect whatever minimum data you can to enable the next levels. And the second one is about analysis and aggregation and communications of metrics. So a lot of companies are here. Google Analytics and similar tools just kind of give you this for free. This is about beginning to make data-driven decisions, exposing that data within your organization. The only thing I have to say here is be careful of vanity metrics. We have 10 million users. We don't say that last month we had 12, this month we have 10, but we have 10 million users. Fantastic. No, it's not fantastic. What matters is growth. What matters is improving on what you have. And that's not what vanity metrics give you. The next level is where I hope a lot of you are, which is optimizing your products with data. This is about A/B testing, right? This is picking a part of your product, improving it, running the A/B test, and comparing the two different populations with the data against your main KPIs. I think it's fairly clear, but that is an evolution from the previous two levels of maturity. Okay, next we get to the more advanced levels. This one, I really like this one. This is about understanding your users through their behavior. And I'll explain this as an example. Facebook is fantastic with this. You see this feature in the background here. Many of you are Facebook users. There never used to be this large cover image in the background here. A product manager at Facebook noticed that people were changing their profile image many times per day, or per week. The profile image was changing all the time. And they thought, the thing that struck me the most is this product manager describing it. He said, oh, that's interesting. Let's look into it. Right, so he realized that there was something strange and went into the raw data to investigate what is happening with these users who are constantly changing their profile pictures. And they were changing it to represent the current state of their life. What are they currently doing? They're currently on vacation, they're currently at school, they're currently interested in this TV show, they're currently doing all these different things. They wanted to communicate that. And they had no visual way of communicating that within their profile, so they changed the profile picture. In response to this, Facebook created this cover art, cover image feature. Now, I'm not sure what Mark Zuckerberg, what he was thinking about when he made this. He's probably thinking, I want to expand to the entire world, take over the whole world. Maybe that's what he's thinking. That's what's happening here. But I really like this because it's about empowering the product managers to dig deep into the data and see user-level interaction to understand what's happening with the users. If you can get to this level as an organization, you're definitely at a higher level of maturity. Now, and some points on this. This doesn't necessarily need to be only quantitative measures. I like to think of it like this, where you have, think of this as a two-dimensional plot, where you have all of users along the horizontal axis and all behaviors, wants, needs. A complete understanding of one user would be a vertical line. Ultimately, what you want is a complete understanding of every user, which is probably not possible. But what I would advocate is tracking the behavior that you can, and then augmenting that tracking with data and insights from qualitative investigations. So you can extrapolate the data that you have into other situations to make it just as useful, and to have a fuller picture. Neither of these is sufficient on their own. The quantitative stuff doesn't give you a full picture. The qualitative stuff doesn't give you a full picture. It's just not large enough. You have to combine them. Okay, the fifth level is about data products. This is what we built. I would say we kind of skipped level 4, honestly. But maybe this is like a choose-your-own-adventure game. You can level up. You don't have to get through one level to get to the next. Here is where you look at your data and you say, how can I expose this to my users to give them value directly? Right. In this case, it was, what is the value of my car? We have this data. It's simple aggregation. It's simple preparing the data in a way that's accessible to our users. We can do that, but there's other things that you can do. You can prepare the interface in a way that focuses on what the user wants. This is recommendations. You can do email targeting. You can improve the value of your offering with the data that you have. Not necessarily exposing it directly, but you can improve the interaction with your system at this level. These are data products. If you get to this level, fantastic. I would love to hear what you're doing to exploit your data. Now, as my talk closes, I have one last level here. This is the master level. This is the master class. This is, if you can accomplish this, I bow to you. Good job. Fantastic. You don't deserve to be here. You should be in a mansion somewhere. This is about informing data to inform new businesses. Sorry, using data to inform new businesses. I'll give you 2 examples. Airbnb. I think everybody agrees that Airbnb is fantastic with data. They know what all their users want, and they know it so well that they can, in this case, they decided to write a magazine. Right, this is so, it's taking the data that they know from real travelers, from hardcore travelers that travel around the world. They go to Myanmar, they go here, they go there, they stay in a treehouse in Finland. They do all these interesting things. The armchair traveler, the one who stays home, wants to read about that. Right, they want to read about the most interesting places in the world, to eventually go to them or just to live vicariously. So they realized that they can move into this completely other market segment, this completely other world of print media by exploiting the data that they have in a new and interesting way. The second one, this is my favorite, is an app called City Mapper that is a get from A to B application. You know, which subway do I take? How do I get from here to there? They decided to use the data, the understanding of the transportation within cities, the transportation patterns of users within their cities, to build a bus service. Yeah, cool, eh? So they realized that there was gaps in the official transportation within cities that they could easily design a sort of a custom route to satisfy those inefficiencies. This is what cities should be doing on their own, but they're not. It takes a startup to do this, to launch their own bus service. And now they have a circular line within central London doing exactly this with ideas of going forward. So with that is the masterclass. You do that. Fantastic. Good job. So just to wrap up, the data-centric product development from my point of view is these levels of maturity. You collect the data, then you analyze it, then you optimize with metrics. You use that data, the low-level data, to understand your users. You provide the data directly in data products, and ultimately you use that to inform new businesses. And notice that none of these strictly require big data. Right? We're not building self-driving cars here. We're just optimizing your business, deciding to simply use the data to drive decisions. So it's just data. And with that, thank you very much for your attention. And I welcome questions if we have time.
Thanks, Sean. So if there are any questions for Sean, or comments, or observations? Yes?
Yeah,
Hi, Sean.
hi.
So my question is, how is your business preparing for the self-driving cars that are mostly announced for 2021, 2025?
It's interesting. I think it has very little to do with what I'm talking about, but it is interesting for how we will target that. Our CEO says, I'm not worried. It's perfectly fine. People will continue to buy cars. I think he has to say that. But I think building up a relationship with vehicle owners, like we're trying to do, these are people that, yes, they own cars, but they're the ones who need transportation solutions. They could easily begin to, if we say, I own this car, well, they could easily begin to offer that car to car sharing services. There would be a target market for a new car sharing service or a self-driving car service. Right? These are the ones who need transportation. They are a bit of a captive market in that sense. Now, I think it's a few years away, so we don't have a direct strategy for dealing with that. We feel that it will be slow enough, there's enough regulation in the industry that it will have time to react. So maybe that's the answer. We are not doing anything now to deal with that, but we're in a position to do so. Any other questions, Martin?
Other questions? Yes?
Question. So you were mentioning it's a bit of a mindset just to go towards big data. How did that happen in your company? I mean, how did people decide to use big data for that?
Interesting. It happened very locally, very sort of bottom up. The whole organization, I would say, is not making decisions on this data-driven mindset, but certain parts are. And as we begin to have success by doing that, the rest of the organization is noticing and paying attention and starting to adopt these practices on a larger level. So we actually have more work to do there.